common challenges and mistakes or errors that therapists tend to make when applying Mind Over Mood second edition with clients? And how are these addressed in the guide?
Well, I think a lot of therapists, because they're busy and they might get Mind Over Mood and they kind of flip through it and they see a worksheet they want to use and they use it, they may never have been aware, and I don't know how they would be aware because it was in Dennis in my head, but it's not immediately necessarily clear to you as a therapist when you look at Mind Over Mood. We wrote a pretty sophisticated book that can be used in many different ways. And so one of the common errors that therapists make is having clients just read and work through Mind Over Mood in the order the chapters are written. And actually, we've developed reading guides where we've recommended different chapter orders for different moods. So with moods, you go with most therapy clients, they're going to read the first 4 chapters of Mind Over Mood, and then they're going to skip back to one of the mood chapters if they are working on a mood. And then if they're working on depression, the depression chapter teaches them activity scheduling, and then they'll be directed to go back in the book to study the thought record chapters. Versus if they're working on anxiety, they'll read the anxiety chapter and they'll actually not do the thought record chapters at all because don't typically use thought records for anxiety. Instead, they'll go to identifying and underlying assumptions and testing them with behavioral experiments, which is the main type of intervention for anxiety. So that's one thing, is not being aware of the reading guides and not thoughtfully assigning chapters that fit what is going to be most helpful to a client at a given stage of therapy. Another common error that CBT therapists make in general, and not just using Mind Over Mood, but Mind Over Mood can be part of it, is that therapists use blunt tools because they're real familiar tools to the therapist rather than using sharper tools that would do the job better. And so in the clinician's guide, because I describe all 60 worksheets in Mind Over Mood, I try to highlight in the clinician's guide, what are the situations, the client issues, the stages in therapy when this is going to be a sharp instrument to use, and what are and I include in the clinician's guide advice like saying, don't use thought records under this circumstance. Don't use core beliefs. Don't do core belief under these circumstances. So I'm trying to guide people. What are the sharpest tools to use at a given point in time? Core beliefs is one of the third common mistakes that CBT therapists make. And I think this is the fault of the training we've done in the field. I think a lot of therapists think core beliefs is where the action is. And I try to make a pretty cogent case in the clinician's guide of sharing research and stuff that shows this is probably not the case. And
I think you do. And I was drinking the Kool-Aid before reading this. And I think that you provide a really compelling case. I would encourage everybody to read it and test their own thinking about this idea that core beliefs are things that we must get to, that all clients need to resolve underlying core beliefs.
Yes. Well, I spent the first 20 years of my career being one of the main spokespeople for how to work with core beliefs in therapy. And I've spent the last 20 years trying to tell people, forget what I said. I mean, don't forget what I said, because I know a lot of good ways to work with core beliefs. But I think that therapists are enamored with core belief work at clients' expense.